Hey, this is Shine Khan. Let me show you my graphics final. So first off, let's take a look at what it is. You can see that. Oh well, let's compile. Let's recompile it so I can show you all the stuff. First, yeah. So this is my scene. It's a simple desert cottage or house with a couple cars. One blue car passing by with its headlight on. It's a headlight, point light. This is just a little light. Uh, like those it's a lamppost. Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. That's the only lamppost I could find. I just wanted to do some sort of lamppost to show off like the cars parked there. Yeah, and those are cottages. I found all these. I found the fences on the internet. I had to edit the fence so that I had to edit the fence in Maya to make it longer, and I had to I had to flip the UVs of most of the things. It was really annoying. I don't know why we have to do that, but I had to flip the UVs of the car and the house and the texture, the road texture. The road tech. This is one model in Maya, and this is the flat plane. And in the background, you can kind of see the terrain. So it's in the distance. So and there's a lot of fog. So let me turn off the fog for you. Um, so the way it works. Oh, first let's rebuild it. Yeah. So I have these align 16 warnings. I don't know how to get rid of them. I do this to like initialize the material and set the default material if the user doesn't set it. So I'm not sure how to get around that. Otherwise, my code is free from other warnings. Yeah. So let's go through the checklist here. Okay, member video. Okay, basic asserts. Okay, so okay. Skybox terrain various premium models and light sources. So I have the sky. Oh yeah. So if you didn't notice, there is a skybox. It's just that it's So the way the skybox work is this is an untextured thing. This is an untextured sky. I mean no, an unlit texture. So because you can see the bright sky, which is really like it doesn't. It is the light source essentially. So I kind of made that. I made and there's just one directional light in the scene that makes it dimly lit, and I added fog. So let's go down the list. If I interrupt myself again. So Skybox terrain various models, file loaded models. Yeah, so I got Skybox, I got terrain, I got some various models. Pre-made models. Well, if I did, essentially what I did, that's not it. Essentially what I did was the pre-made models. I made flat plane the pre-made model to make it easier for me, and the skybox a pre-made model so I can encase into a graphics object. So we can see that. Where is it? Here. So we have pre-made models, skybox, pre-made models, flat plane. That's all there. I can show you. Can replace something. Replace the car with the pre-made model. Hopefully it doesn't do anything bad. But cube. Oh wait, I might not have unit box repeated texture. May or may not have already put that in, but oh, the pyramid's not in here. That's in the other project. I can merge that in. All right, so I can show you that I have these models. So let's change these cars into a unit. Well, I only have the box and pyramid, so unit box repeated texture. That'll just be a repeated texture. There's that. We have the unit pyramid. As you saw in the previous demos, we have that. Let's turn that back into the regular car. So let's see. The way I did all this, so I took off the fog right now. So the way I handle everything is by game objects, or no, sorry, graphics objects. So I kind of made it. I kind of organize it here. So first we make the model. We make, say like we want to make the car. We make the model first. Well, first we make a shader. We have two shaders here: texture, light, and texture. So P model car. We have that. Then we have the texture of P text car, and then we just create the graphics object of GObject car using those two. Then we have a texture. We set the texture of the car right here. Funny story about this one. So the car, and then we set the material, then we set the lights, and then the world matrix. And then we set the world matrix, and then we render it. We set the shader to context. Set the cam matrices and the light parameters for the shader, and then just render. The car is 3 meshes. Let's see here. GOBJ car set texture. So apparently, if we break here, actually it might be 1. So step, back step. So it's 3 meshes, and oh, that's right. That's my overloaded method here. So I have the way I'm setting all 3 textures is this. So this car right here. Well, it's a lot of videos. No, not that. This car has 3 parts to it. I can open it up in my right here. Where is it? So we have the neat car right here. This is the road I made. It's lovely. So we can just drag the neat car here. So we can see that it is 3 meshes here. We have 1, 2, and 3. And then if we take a look at the UVs, you can see that they use the same. Well, I had to split it up because the car was originally 5 meshes. So I combined these 2, that and that. And since this one image right here, if I can find it. Car. So, well, before the rotating, you can see that this wheel here matches up with. If we rotated this, because I have to rotate the texture, they essentially use the same UV map. So, I just set the texture 3 times for each mesh. Same texture for all 3 meshes, and that's how it appears. And the converter went swimmingly. And then we have ourselves a really nice car. Otherwise, you can just set the textures to whatever. So set texture without defining a mesh. Sets the texture for all the meshes. And that's how I went about doing that. Let's go down this list again. So yeah, this is my aesthetically interesting scene, as you saw about 4 times already. I made the window bigger and made it say graphics font just to be fancy. I moved the camera just a smidge, and it just makes the rotation just a bit wonky. Oh no, did I? Oh yeah, see, so it does that thing. I don't know how to fix that. I just slightly offset your gimmicky mouse thing. But yeah, the car just drives off to nowhere. So, and we set the materials. I have this basic material that I just set, and I decided not to change, so that's just me setting the materials, but I can change it if I don't see. or really need to. I can make the car shiny, I guess. Let's try making the car shiny. GOBJ car, set material. Let's do the first material, the base of the car. Let's do vect of 111. You know, let's make everything 111. Oh no. Okay, so car is super. It reflects more. It takes in more light. So specular. Let's change the specular to. So it's ambient, diffuse, and specular. Just change up the specular then. It's like really bright. Let's see how that looks. Because cars just have that specularity. Maybe it's just a bit too much specularity. And you can kind of see it right there. If you turned it down to like 0.1, 0.1, and 0.1. You can see that, well, just a smidge, I guess. But the way that method works is we have the way that all of these graphics objects work is that first we have a default material of 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Then we default the fog to really far away. We make all the mesh textures null pointers so we can delete them properly. And then afterwards we just set texture. We can set the textures all faces or just a texture. We set the lights. We can set 2 spotlights, directional light, point light. Actually, we have 2 directional lights, 2 point lights, and 2 spotlights in the shader. But this graphics object, the graphics object texture light, for my purpose right now, only has 2. Actually, we can easily change that. Alright, so the way that this works, setting the lights, is that the graphics object has an interface method of setting a point light for the shader that it uses. So we have set point light parameters. It sets it. Then it has the texture has 3 structs. It's 3 structs of each. So point light, dir, and 3 spotlights. So the way that gets sent is that when we send the light parameters, it sends all data light params has 3 sets of each. That gets sent to the shader right here. So we computed the first one, second one, third one, and that's how I got that to work. Put that point light. Yeah, that same thing for the spotlight also. Alright, this is Cheyenne Khan again. I finally got, well, I realized that it was 3 point lights or 3 spotlights, not 3 total different lights. So I quickly corrected this. Multiple 3+ point sources or multiple 3+ spotlights, or I thought I meant multiple 3 sources, 3+ sources. One type has 3+ sources. Yeah, I have a point light, which has 3 sources. So we have this car here. You can move him around. As you can see, he has some amazing headlights. So he moves around. Yeah, that reflects off stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we have that in our list. And the movement should not be gratuitous, but actually justified. It is justified because it was actually moving, as you saw there. Make judicious use of the fog effect. Yeah, this fog effect here. Is it judicious? I think it is, because it's the middle of the night and and it's the middle of nowhere, so I like the the terrain. Terrain. Oh, I didn't set the terrains. Fog. So GobJ terrain. Set fog data 1050. Colors black. So I think it looks. I think it's judicious. If it loads. Yeah, so it fades out. Yeah, so I have it independent because sometimes the light doesn't fade correctly, so I had to. I can tailor it like right here. You can see that the houses. I made it fade just a bit less quicker, or quicker. So you can change that. So you can make it fade at 200 instead of 50. This might actually be a problem with so you can see that it's slowly getting devoured by the fog a little less quickly. It's completely too dark. Let's actually get back the moving car. I like that. Where is it? Here it is. Oh, no, that's not it. To get rid of that. So yeah, you can see 3 moving spotlights. There you go. Alright, so pre-made models, unit box and pyramid, multiple version of face texturing options. Alright, I'm Cheyenne Khan. Again, this is I made it so that you can render a certain mesh here. So I have a set mesh to render, and we can either set one mesh or the entire mesh. So if I'm rendering the first mesh, I'm just gonna render just the car right here without the wheels. And as you saw, I did set it to 1, and it made that. If I do this and I do false, then that means it reverts back to setting the mesh to full render mode. As you can see, cancels that out. So going down the checklist, so yeah, we have the repeating box, and then we have the 6-face box, which is basically the one that I showed in the texturing cube demo right here. I just ported that over to models, so it's this exact same code. Let's see what else is on the checklist. So we have minimum of that. So it includes flat plane skybox. They use this latest version of standard vertex. Yeah. Constructors for pre-made models. So the constructor for pre-made model is just using the model tools. Otherwise, it's just this. And the skybox is built to scale for the pre-made model. Yeah. There's the terrain model class, which is build a terrain model to scale. UV mapping with specified repeats. That is terrain. So you make it's all right here, the terrain model right here. You can set the repeats right here. We can set how big it is, or it's right here. Right here. So it's high math out scale rows, calls, repeat, U and V. So it's the same code as before. So we can make it like, we can make it repeat more if we want to. So we can do like 10 and 10. That makes it a bit nicer. Oh no, that makes that a bit nicer. So you can see that it was a bit blurry. Now it's a bit smoother than that. So you have shader classes. So you see that all my shaders, the graphics objects incorporate the shaders. It tells the shaders to do its bidding for it based on what the user provides. So that's why in the render state, when you're rendering, all you have to do is just set it to context, and and the proper objects with that shader control it to its liking. That's for the fog at least. The car. Wow, that's a lot of methods. So the car here. We have this is a render one mesh thing. Send world and model and set the texture. It tells the shader to do that, and then it renders the mesh, or it renders one mesh. Let's see. Constructors, same shader and model. So you saw in the DX app that you take the shader and model as parameters, and then the rendering method automates everything. Receiving, yeah, and we have a set material for per mesh on a per mesh basis. So we have set material. We have the index here. We have set texture, and then as I described before, you set texture without parameters. Sets it for all the meshes. Otherwise, you can set it separately. And DX app. So init demo, as you can see, I really organized this. Init mouse is its own thing. The update has the moving stuff, and the draw scene, you set it to context and the camera matrices and the light parameters, and then you render it. And then this is just the rest of this stuff. The mirror, as far as a working mirror texture, multiple lights. If this is just like a retroactive thing that you want to see, like that we completed assignment 8, I'm just gonna move the mirror demo into my final scene folder. So we have that with the light. User. Let's see. If no fog parameters are provided, we have, so if we don't have any fog parameters, the fog is actually just not there. There's no fog. The default pushes it back all the way beyond reasonable zooming to 99999. So yeah, we have no fog. Well, so you can see all that. You see the skybox too. The seams are still there from the the rounding point error, but it's not that noticeable, I think, from where we're seeing it. So yeah, we have. What else can I do? Ooh. So I showed you skybox terrain, various pre-made models. I showed you the scene. Nothing is, if in doubt, show me your scene, send a snapshot. Yeah, so I used my little positioner to position objects to the scene, so use this. See how I'm moving the car? I use that to and it prints out to the console where I moved it to. This is only if the scale is 111. So I had that going for me. I had to adjust most of these to get it just right. So after I discovered this when doing the house, that after I positioned the house, I was like, maybe I should scale all these models to 111. So I did that in Maya. I took the model, I scaled it to however big I wanted it to be. So like this car is in 2x4. So I made that as a reference point. I scaled it, I deleted the history, and I freeze transformations to make it not go wonky. And then I set it, and then it just worked fine like that. I made sure there's less than or equal to 4 meshes. And that's how I did the models for that. So yeah, most of these have there's the scene. I don't know, the scene has multiple point lights right there. Spotlight, a moving car. There was fog. The skybox terrain, they're in their model tools, they're pre-made models built to scale. The flat plane, the flat plane is just a really flat plane, like a very base flat plane. So if I put that in there right now, right now I just set it. Let's see, flat plane. That flat plane. So yeah, plain road. It was a flat plane, but now I incorporated it into as a P model plane. So if you render P model plane, it gets passed through as a model, so the graphics object can handle everything. So let's see here. Oh, it is rendering. Oh, the plane is I completely forgot. I don't know why. The plane is beneath the road. I keep thinking the road replaced the plane for me. So yeah, that's the road and that's the plane, and that's the terrain as a backdrop, as you can see from there. I think that's it. Other than some of the pre-made models, I had to convert a lot of things to Azul format. That was a pain. Using command prompt. I don't like that. Scene worthy of that. Spawn a lighting, yes. There's 3 point lights. There's 3 spotlights, 3 point lights that to use in my shader, and 3 directional lights. So I guess I should show you that. So we can compute that. Color texture light. It has 2. This one has 2. So I think that's it for my project now. I did that. The terrain class, which basically is a graphics object, but it just suited for the terrain. There's constructors for the graphics object. The mirror, I have a separate one. A DX app is all tidied up. Yeah, that's about it for the project.